Hello everyone. Okay, so I thought a lot about how I'm going to make this video, and I have no idea how I'm going to make this video, but I'm going to make this video because I said I was going to. Alright, so a few years back, I think around, I don't know, 2010, 2011, somewhere around there, I decided to become vegan. You know, I became aware of animal cruelty that was going on, you know, vicious animal cruelty, and I was like, I'm never going to eat meat again, ever. I mean, like, right then I decided I'm never going to eat meat again, and that's what I did. So I just immediately plunged myself into a vegan diet, not knowing really what I was doing, you know, what to eat or whatever. I just stopped eating meat, okay? And so immediately I started to notice health problems. Like I would have like kind of dizzy spells, you know. I just wouldn't feel right a lot of the times. So that's when I started to do a little bit more research, find out, you know, what vitamins and nutrients that I need. And one of the main things I found out, I need vitamin B12. Okay, so I started supplementing vitamin B12 because I wasn't getting that in my diet because I wasn't eating meat anymore. And so slowly I started to feel better as I started to eat, you know, more nutritious things. And I found out what I could eat, and I started to eat those things. Started to feel a little bit better. Right? So a lot of time passed, and I was okay, but I always found that I wasn't eating very healthy. Part of the reason was not because I wasn't aware of what vegans should eat. It was just because the impractical nature of the diet. Okay, there are, you know, very nutritious things to eat on a vegan diet that perhaps would cover all the nutrients you need, or at least most, but it takes an incredible amount of effort. You know, there's a lot of how do I say, prepping, you know, because you can't just go out to eat anywhere. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to go, you know, to a restaurant and, you know, just sit down and have a meal. One, there's not a lot of vegan restaurants, and two, if there are, they're expensive. So you make a lot of your food at home, and it turns out to be, one, really expensive. You're doing a lot more preparing. You got to chop up, if you want to make your own milk or your own cheese. You know, if you go buy a cheese, yeah, you can buy vegan cheese, but it's expensive. So you either like, okay, I could buy this vegan stuff in the store, which is expensive, or I could make cheese at home, which I have to like crush up almonds or cashews, you know, make a cashew cheese or something like that. Just incredibly difficult. Like I said, it's not a practical diet. And so I didn't have time for that. I was going to college and, you know, just doing regular life things that people do, and I just didn't have time to dedicate to make all these homemade meals. And being a college student, and not, you know, not having a lot of money, I didn't have the money just to go out to vegan restaurants or, you know, a vegan pizza place all the time, or, you know, vegan whatever, you know. And so I wasn't getting all the nutrition that I needed. Okay, and so obviously that helped deteriorate my health a little bit. Okay. Now, one of the main problems that I didn't realize until way later was that, okay, growing up, my dad, he ended up becoming diabetic, right? And I had this mindset, you know, just from general teachings, that you become diabetic from consuming too much sugar. That was the general ignorance that I had, okay? I didn't find out until way later that although eating a lot of sugary foods can contribute to diabetes, also what can contribute to diabetes is overconsumption of carbohydrates. Had no idea that, okay? And looking back on it, I realized that was one of my main problems with veganism too, is my overconsumption of carbohydrates. But it's kind of a natural consequence of that diet. It's like, okay, you can't eat all these foods, you know, it's not just the animal meat products. You can't, you know, eat milk or cheese or, you know, eggs or anything like that. And so it's like, well, what do you eat? Well, you end up eating a lot of carbohydrates. You end up eating a lot of breads and rices and, you know, beans, crackers, and things like that. Okay? And inevitably, over time, you know, what I found out recently is that also took a toll on my health, you know? I was under the impression that, hey, these are more healthy foods, I can eat a lot of them. You got to eat something, you know. You get hungry like anybody else, so you try to fill yourself with those things. So you eat more rice, you know, or more beans or more crackers than the average person would. My dog is over there. Hold on a second. Come on, you want to come in there? come in or not come in? Okay. So you eat more of these things than the average person would. And now, in current times, I'm finding out that I'm potentially diabetic. I have to go to the doctor and get tests done and all that. But anytime, like if I consume too much sugar now, or too much carbohydrates, I notice I get the similar symptoms of a diabetic. So very quite possibly diabetic. And again, now in hindsight, I'm looking back, it's because I consume not just sugary things, but all those carbohydrates. Again, because of a vegan diet. Okay. But it wasn't just that. Okay, so for long periods of time, like I said, you're so restricted in that diet that you don't, how can I say, like, because it's harder to get nutrients in, you have to watch your diet so much that if you're not, as I didn't, like I said, because I just didn't have the time to focus to it, you end up becoming deficient, not just in vitamins, but maybe things like fiber, if you're not eating, enough things with fiber, like, say, fresh fruit or something. I might have chose to drink juice instead of fresh fruit or something like that. The main point is that the vegan diet, it takes so much dedication that it becomes that impractical nature, and if you don't do that like 100% focus, you're going to become deficient in things. Okay, and as a result of that, I end up becoming intolerant to corn. I'm now intolerant to wheat or gluten. For a time, trying to be more healthy. You watch these videos or you read these articles. People are like, oh, don't eat this, don't eat that. You try to be more healthy, and so I decided to stop consuming caffeine for a while. Okay, for like a good period, at least a few months, if not maybe like a year or something like that. I went 100%. No sodas. No caffeinated sodas. No chocolate. Like zero caffeine, right? And then when at the end of that, I was like, I want a soda again, just to try it, or a little bit of chocolate. Or when I try to reintroduce that into my diet, I found out that I had become not allergic to it, sensitive to it. Now when I consume caffeine, it affects me neurologically, like makes me tired or feeling weak, and it's the same thing with these other foods. Now when I consume corn, it gives me diarrhea. It just this whole it's not just a bashing of veganism. It's this whole idea that a lot of people have nowadays that I see of eliminating things completely from your diet, whether it's meat, caffeine, or gluten, or whatever it is. Okay, as a side note real quick, if you're allergic to something, say from birth you're allergic to corn, let's just say corn. Okay, obviously you don't eat corn. But let's say you're just a fairly healthy individual. You could eat any food and not have any kind of adverse reactions to it. There should be no reason why you should eliminate any food from your diet. This is what I'm saying. I know I'm kind of rambling, going all over the place. Like I said, it was hard for me to even think of how to make this video. But that's my main point. Again, it's not just bashing on veganism. It's not bashing on any kind of particular diet, except the elimination diet. That's what I'm bashing more so than anything, or that's what I'm warning you of more than anything. When you go to that point where you're eliminating 100% of something from your diet, again, either meat or caffeine or gluten, something like that. When you attempt to reintroduce these things into your diet, if you ever do, there could be serious adverse effects. And not even that, not just that, not if you attempt to reintroduce these things. Let's just say you never have those again. There could be certain nutrients or vitamins or whatever in those things that you're eliminating that helps your body digest other foods. That's one thing that I believe made me intolerant to corn. As I'm doing more research now, and I'm finding out if you don't get enough fiber, other things in your life, that you could become intolerant to these things. And that goes back to the vegan diet. I was so restrictive. Oh, you can't have this, you can't have that. You try to grab a loaf of bread. Oh, it has milk or eggs in it. Oh, I can't have that, And so slowly, because you're restricting yourself so much, you're depleting yourself of all these necessary vitamins and nutrients. Okay, now, in saying all that, if a person really is opposed to say something like animal cruelty, right? Okay, like I said, I'm not a proponent. Now, I'm not a proponent of eliminating anything for your diet. But if you're 100%, you're like, I'm sorry, Matt, I just can't eat meat anymore. Okay, still, don't go vegan. Don't go vegan. It is so. Hold on a second. Before I even get into that, if you're so stuck on not having animals, go vegetarian. Because by going vegetarian, at least you can still get the nutrients from your nutrients. I don't know why I'm so scatterbrained. It's because of the freaking vegan diet, I'm telling you. Elimination diet. Go vegetarian, because at least you can still get your eggs, which have, vitamins and nutrients. You get your milk, your yogurts, and your cheeses, all these things where you could get, your vitamin B12 and your calcium and stuff like that. But if you go to this extreme diet, this vegan diet, you're not getting all those things. You have to sit here and try to supplement or eat like 1,000 pounds of one type of vegetable to try to get all your nutrients, or say one day you're not at home, you're at someone's house, and you got to eat out. It's a scenario, you got to eat out. If you don't have a lot of money, it's like, well, what am I going to do? I can't afford these super high prices of vegan food. And that's another thing that I haven't even talked about yet. Vegan food, it's like, at least, okay, my food bill from, when I was omnivore of sorts to where I was vegan is like 2 to 4 times more per month or per whatever. It is so much more expensive. You gotta drive further to find the foods that you can eat, because not every place has vegan cheese, not every place has, those vegan mock meats, or, every now and again you might want a pizza, Hey, you're still a human being, you still like pizza or hamburgers or something like that. Well, those places aren't all over the place. So you gotta drive that extra distance to go get your vegan pizza or your vegan hamburger or whatever, right? You're driving the extra distance, then you're paying 2 to 4 times more, or 5 times more sometimes, I remember driving like 100+ miles to go get some vegan donuts from a place. I mean, the diet is so impractical, it's so ridiculous. Like I said, if you truly care about animals and you don't want to eat meat, okay, I understand that. I'm totally with that. But go vegetarian. I mean, your options at that point are still so wide. There's so many vegetarian options. I mean, you could go to pretty much any pizza place and get a vegetarian pizza. You go to any common fast food place, Taco Bell, McDonald's, there are vegetarian options. So many more options. But for me, I couldn't do that from the get-go. Looking back, if I could, let's say that I didn't have any intolerances or any kind of sensitivities, I would have preferred the vegetarian diet. Like I said, being able to eat the eggs and the milk and cheese and all that type of stuff. But the reason I didn't do that is because I'm lactose tolerant. From a child, from like early teenage years at least, if not younger, I've been lactose intolerant. So it's like, okay, I don't want to eat meat, but I can't drink milk. I can't have cheese or yogurt or anything like that. And then kind of the extra step was, well, I might as well not have eggs either. Just go to the full, vegan diet. But if you're able, say you're not lactose intolerant, say again you have the gut that could, withstand any kind of food, that you could tolerate any type of food, and you really don't want to hurt animals, you don't want to contribute that, then go vegetarian. But otherwise, I recommend not eliminating anything from your diet. If you want, just have a little bit less meat. I mean, you don't have to always consume meat in your diet. I mean, you could have it just once a day, maybe just a little bit, or once or twice a week or something like that. The main point, like I said, forget bashing veganism, forget, anything like that. The elimination diet is one of the worst things that you can do in your life. One of the worst things. I would not recommend it. Again, unless you're allergic or, intolerant from birth or whatever, obviously, okay? And just as a side note, again about veganism versus vegetarianism, right? One thing I noticed, okay, when I went vegan, at first I was like, okay, I'm against animal cruelty. I don't want to hurt animals. And then as I did my research about veganism, then I started to find out, oh, they don't eat honey, or they don't, consume. It started to get really weird. Sorry, the battery is cut out. Anyhow, to conclude, what I was going to say at the end is, they even go to the extreme, like, oh, you can't have honey, or, you know, whatever thing, you can't kill insects in your house. I mean, it just becomes, the vegan diet becomes so impractical, so nonsensical, so expensive, so deteriorating to your health and to your body. You know, like I said, if you're not 100%, 1000% focused, that it's not a good idea. Don't go vegan. Don't definitely don't go vegan, and definitely don't adhere to any kind of elimination diet where you're 100% taking any kind of food item out of your diet. Just don't do it. It's bad for your health. Just eat a normal, regular diet. You know, if you're concerned about losing weight or anything like that, just eat in moderation. Eat less of something, but don't ever eat none of something. That's all I pretty much gotta say. And again, sorry for the video coming in and out. You guys are like, what happened there? All of a sudden he was talking, he stopped talking.